You have sorted the easy stuff, the expired food in the pantry or the clothes that don't fit anymore, and your junk drawer that was, let's be honest, 90% junk. But what about this stuff? The guilty gift from your aunt that you've never used. Or maybe the box of your kid's arts project you can't bear to part with. The things that feel impossible. Welcome back to our Get Finally Organized in 2026 series. This is the third video. Last time we covered the basic differences on how to get organized and also a step-by-step plan on how to sort things out. Now that you know how to decide, you learn here how to handle the emotional items that make you actually feel guilty. What if I told you the reason you're stuck has less to do with your stuff and more to do with specific predictable patterns in your brain? In this video, we'll first dive into the science of why it's so hard to let go, and then I'll give you 6 evidence-based tools to handle everything from guilty gifts to precious heirlooms, so stay tuned to learn how to work with your brain, not against it, to finally let go without the regret. But before we get to the how, we have to understand the why. Why do some items feel so heavy? It's not your imagination, it's actually brain chemistry. So first up, there is guilt and social obligation. Psychologists find that we often keep things not because we love the item, but because we feel responsible for the giver's feelings. Your brain is reacting to a deep-seated fear of social disapproval, even if the person who gave you the item will literally never know that the item is gone. It's an emotional attachment to the person and not actually the object. Second, there's the powerful link between sentimental items and memory. We look at a box of old letters or a chipped coffee mug here, and we have a legitimate fear. If I let go of the object, will I lose the memory? But here's a crucial distinction. Memories live in your brain and not in your things. The object is just a trigger for the memory, not the memory itself. And finally, there's decision fatigue. Every single one of these emotionally loaded items forces your brain into a complex negotiation. Should I keep it? What will my mom think? What if I need it someday? This mental load becomes so exhausting that the easiest option is just to put this item back in the box and postpone the decision. This is how clutter becomes a cycle and how you end up feeling completely stuck. Let's talk about the classic, the unwanted mug. Your cousin gave it to you 5 years ago. You don't like the mug, you don't drink from it, and it clashes with every single thing in your kitchen. And yet, there it sits. But this is the point where we have to reframe the meaning of a gift. The true function of a gift happens in the moment of exchange. It's an expression of care. Once you receive that kindness and also you acknowledged it, the social contract is complete. You, and listen to me, you are not obligated to become the permanent warehouse for that object. So, what do? We can start by preventing clutter at the door. It's a bit awkward at first, I know, but practicing a few simple kind refusal scripts is a game changer. So when someone offers you something, you can say, "That's so kind of you to think of me. I'm actually working right now really hard to not bring new things into my home right now, but thank you." Or you can say, "I really appreciate the offer, but I'm on a decluttering mission right now, so I have to say no for now." Direct, low drama wording is a kindness to everyone. Once a person shows up at the door with a gift, I know it's hard. The best thing is to set expectations upfront. Tell everyone, regardless of how close they are to you, not to bring anything as you are decluttering right now, and you don't want to bring anything new in the home. If they still show up, train yourself in honesty. If they are true friends, they will understand and also appreciate, and maybe even they will get inspired by your action of not getting gifts. If they are not, then actually don't feel guilty for rejecting their gift. For the unwanted mug that's already taken up residence, it's time to apply a simple filter. Is it essential or is it beautiful to you? An unused, unloved gift fails that test, no matter who bought it. So you can appreciate the thought without giving this item a permanent home. So, and now let's go to the big ones. The heirlooms, the baby clothes, the items that are genuinely painful to think about. This is where your logical brain and your emotional brain go to war. Instead of fighting that feeling, we are going to use evidence-informed tools to work with your brain while you let go. So, my first tip is take a photo and write it down. This strategy is informed by what we know about memory and emotional attachment. By creating an alternative way to access the memory, we can often release the physical object. Because as we talked earlier about it, the item is not the memory, it's just a trigger for the memory. And a photo or a note can be the same trigger without that huge antique vase taking up the whole closet. So, take a beautiful photo of it, maybe even write down a few sentences about the memory that it brings up. You can also create a digital album or physical memory book, doesn't matter. You're capturing what actually matters, your story, and not the stuff. My second tip is use a time-limited maybe box. This is a classic for a specific reason. It's based on the principle of a delayed decision with a hard deadline. If an item paralyzes you, put it in a box. Label it, write maybe on it, and also put a date on it, like 6 months from now. Store it somewhere out of sight, because this works by giving you real-world proof. Because when you live for 6 months without needing or even thinking about an item, what's in that box, your brain gets tangible evidence that it's safe to let it go. The rule is simple. Box it, date it, and if you haven't opened it by the deadline, donate the entire box, important, without opening it or taking a second glance at it, okay? Really important. My third tip is find someone who will actually love it. And this is a really powerful reframe. Research suggests that it's much easier to part with an item when we know it will be valued by someone else. So instead of letting this really beautiful but not your style tea set gather dust, find a friend or family member who would actually use it, also appreciate it. Because their joy becomes the new story for that item and transforming it from a source of guilt into a true gift. But also be careful with gifts, because what we don't want is to ease ourselves by just burdening others. So make careful choices on what to offer to whom. If you sense the slightest discomfort from the other person, let them go and bring your item to a donation center. The goal is not here to ease yourself by burdening others, okay? So, if these tips are already helping you see a path forward, do me a favor and hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that this is valuable information and it helps others to find it. And if you're ready to finally make space in your home and also in your mind, make sure you subscribe because we are just getting started. So, tip number 4 is get support through body doubling. If you find yourself freezing up in front of a box of memories, don't do it alone. The concept of body doubling, often used in the ADHD community, is incredibly effective. Simply the fact of having another person present, even if they're just quietly reading a book or doing something else, can really boost your focus and also can help you to follow through, to stick with it. And an even better approach is to ask a friend to be your assistant maybe. Have them hold up each item while you decide from a few feet away. Because that little bit of physical distance can already create just enough emotional distance to let your logical brain have a voice in this decision. Tip number 5 is learn to delay decisions briefly, but not forever. There's a huge difference between chronic avoidance and a strategic pause. If you pick up an item and your chest really tightens and your eyes well up, that is not the moment to make a permanent decision about an important emotional item. Cognitive behavioral strategies teach us to regulate the emotion first and then decide. So put the item aside, give yourself 24 or 48 hours, the emotional wave will pass and your nervous system will settle a little bit. And then you will be way better able to make a choice that feels actually clearer and calmer. And tip number 6, my last tip today is visualize the memory and then visualize your ideal space. Therapists use visualization because it reconnects you with what you truly value. So first, close your eyes and bring up the memory associated with the item. Picture who was there and what you felt and also what was said. Notice that the memory is vivid and also it's whole. It's completely independent of you touching the object. So now, do a second visualization. Picture your ideal living room or bedroom. See the clear surfaces, feel how easy it is to move, and notice that sense of calm like just washing over you. Use that vision as your guide. Does holding on to this item help you create that feeling, or does it block it? I know this work is hard, but the benefits go far beyond a tidy home. Studies have linked decluttered environments to reduced anxiety, to better sleep, and improved focus. So when your physical space is clearer, your brain is not constantly fighting the distraction of visual noise, and this frees up your mental energy for things that actually matter to you. But most importantly, every time you successfully navigate the guilt of letting go of an unwanted gift or the sadness of parting with a sentimental item, you are proving to yourself that you can handle difficult emotions. You are building self-efficacy. That confidence doesn't stay in your closet. It spills over into every other area of your life. So you are teaching your brain that it can actually feel a wave of emotion and still choose what's best for your life and yourself right now. So letting go is not about ruthlessly erasing your past, it's about curating it. It's about honoring your memories in a way that doesn't require you to sacrifice your present and future peace. You are making room not just in your home, but also in your life for new experiences, new creativity, and also maybe a profound sense of calm. The space you clear gives you back your time and your attention. I want to leave you with a question. Let me know in the comments, what is the one type of sentimental item you struggle with the most? Is it maybe your photos, is it heirlooms, or your kids' artwork? Sharing is the first step. And now that you've done the hardest part, making these emotional decisions, you need a clear plan for where everything should go. In my next video, we'll get super practical with a guide on the logistics. Exactly where to donate, where to recycle or sell your items so they do the most good and don't end up right back where they started.